New Zealand Education spokeswoman Tracey Martin.
Kia ora. Hello, how nice to see you all. So yes, my name's Tracey Martin. I am spokesperson for Education, Women, Communications, Broadcasting and IT. And excuse me for being out of breath, but traffic is awful, getting a cab is really tricky, but we arrived. Can I just start, how many people have got student debt? Can you put your hand up? How many people think that you should have student debt? No, that's okay. That's okay, because for the last 25 years you've been told that you should. For the last 25 years you've been told that your country can't afford to invest in you. So for the last 25 years you've been told by a generation that didn't have debt that we can no longer afford to invest in you. And so, naturally, if you believe that that is not true, you're accused of being selfish. If you believe that that is not true, you're accused of trying to stop other people from coming into university. Because one of the big falsehoods that has been told to you again and again and again, it started, strangely enough, with a salient interview by Phil Goff a long, long time ago, who introduced the first the student loan scheme, not in the full way that it was then introduced by the Jim Bolger government in '92, but initially, Phil Goff told Salient magazine that if we wanted to increase the number of human beings in New Zealand who could attend tertiary education, then tertiary education students had to pay some of it, which is wrong. It's not true. It was a way to cut funding to tertiary education. It was a way to shift some of the burden and responsibility from the state to invest in the next generation of people onto the people. And we've seen a continuation of that in many areas of education over the last 25 years. So you'll know, like I know, that right now, or last year actually, $15.2 billion was outstanding in student debt. Last year, the last financial year, your generation borrowed another $1.5 billion on top of that. You didn't just borrow it for your education, you borrowed it to eat. You borrowed it to live, you borrowed it to pay your rent. How many people have parents who are millionaires? Because that's the other thing you're told, is that people who have parents who are millionaires should not get access to tertiary education. But I don't see anybody who's prepared to say that their parents are millionaires sitting in this room, but you've all got a student debt. The other argument that is made is why should a taxi driver subsidise the children of a millionaire? And some of the logic for that is quite simple. If a taxi driver wants to go to hospital, there needs to be doctors in it. If a taxi driver wants to go to a dentist, there needs to be dental training so that we have dentists. But what is true is that the current system for funding you in tertiary education is unaffordable under the current way that it is managed. As an example, it costs $719 million per year to manage StudentLink, StudyLink. It costs $719 million a year to do the administration for you to borrow and get into debt. Imagine what would happen if we didn't have StudyLink because you didn't need to borrow to get into debt, and imagine what we could do with $719 million if we reinvested it back into you. So what I bought today, sorry I've just been ambushed by a lot of science behind here. I've brought along some of these flyers. I'm sorry, I don't think there's enough for every single one of you, but what this is the tertiary education policy that New Zealand first launched in August last year. How many people heard that we launched one? Good on you. Now, isn't that interesting? So, the first statement is, how can you trust mainstream media if you don't know? Why did mainstream media not tell you that New Zealand First is the last political party standing who believes that you should be invested in for the future of our country? Even the Greens have moved away from that position. The Greens have moved away from implementing upfront investment tertiary education and instead are offering you a bus ticket. A And I want you to think about that really, really carefully. So they say at some stage in the future, they hope to get back there. We've priced out how to do it now. And the figures are here, the data is here, and if you need more in depth, then you email me after you read this, because economists have worked on this. We know that this is priced out and that this can work. But what's happening with the Greens is they've decided they will offer you this election off-peak bus travel. A student card as opposed, similar to the gold card, I suppose. How many people have lectures at 8 o'clock in the morning? How many people have lectures at 5 o'clock at night? Right, you won't get a bus then, will you? So what I'm trying to say to you is don't be distracted by shiny objects, all right? Inform yourselves before this coming election. Take one of these flyers. Have a good look at the numbers. You want more in-depth numbers, you email me and I'll send them to you. The Labour Party is offering you 3 free years. What point is that to a medical student? What point is that to vet? And the argument is that there's personal benefit out the other side. That may or may not be true. What if you do vet and actually what your country needs is for you to belong to an NGO? What if you do medicine and what we need is for you to go into the Pacific as part of a government organisation where you're not highly paid, but your skill is highly valued? So to say that the personal benefit outweighs the government's responsibility to invest in its future generation doesn't wash with us. And what we're asking you to do is to inform yourselves. What we're asking you to do is inform others. And if you don't agree with the policy, fine, don't vote for it, but at least know what it is. And don't wait for mainstream media to tell you what New Zealand First is doing. Join up onto the Facebook. Make sure you contact Young New Zealand First. Get hold of us if there are issues. The MPs. We're represented, elected representatives. We're not just there for people who voted for us. Every taxpayer pays for us. So get hold of us and ask us questions and demand answers from us. That's the purpose of, one of the purposes of being a representative. So that was me launching into it because I was 5 minutes late. And so I think I've got something like 5 minutes of questions. Is that right, before Winston will start? Is that okay? So does anybody want to ask me questions about something to do with education now? Yes.
If the policy is so simple, then why do you think other parties haven't come up with something similar?
Philosophical. Philosophically, they don't believe in it. So New Zealand First was founded on 15 fundamental principles, and I've got copies of those full principles over there. Principle number 5 is education will be treated as an investment item, not an expenditure item, and it will not be used as an excuse not to train our own. So basically, philosophically, you have to go back to the 1980s and the 1990s and the Labour Party and the National Party's philosophy around this particular issue. I don't know what the story is with the Greens, and you have to ask them. But philosophically, the two major parties just do not want to actually give you what they themselves have. Yeah.
Obviously, no fees at university is fantastic, but a lot of the struggle for students is the day-to-day living costs, and currently $176 is what we're expected to live on, despite rents being $200, $220. What's New Zealand First student support policy for living costs?
Right, so a part of what I've priced out here is actually a universal student allowance regardless of what your parents earn. So that's the first thing. And it would be in that $200 to $250 range. Then we would remove what has been the government legislated, I think it was in the last 24 months, to make sure that you couldn't access the supplement, the accommodation supplement allowance that other beneficiaries could access. They made sure that you were only able to access the lowest possible denominator. We would repeal that. And then you start getting into other things like housing and accommodation. So now what you're getting into next is you actually start getting into what is the party going to do about rents? Rising rents, accommodation for students. You guys have been in the news, trekking up and down the streets because there's more students that need somewhere to live than there are places to live. So that's something that Dennis O'Rourke is working on. But initially, that's exactly what we do. Introduce a universal student allowance, regardless of parental income, and actually take away those barriers to the accommodation supplement that you used to have until this government removed it.
Where would the money come from? So would taxes increase, or would you increase the tax bracket of those who earn more?
No. So again, practice, because these numbers, the numbers are outlined all here. But what I probably want to show you first, or tell you first off is, in 2009-2010, this government paid $2 2.9% of GDP in tertiary education funding. Last financial year, they paid 1.67% of GDP in tertiary education. The OECD average is 2% of GDP. This policy that transfers some of that funding, like if there's $719 million for a start that can be transferred to actually support universal student allowance and fully upfront investment. That prices out at 1.86% of GDP. So what I'm offering here is less than what this government paid in 2009-2010. I need you to have a look at the figures, and then if you've got more questions about the figures, come back to me, no problem at all. Yes?
So I assume that if you're taking the money from the admin to give to the students, there's going to be no admin?
That's right, because there's no student loan. So there's no need to actually have the study loan system at all. What you've got is we will actually track the investment in you by your national student number, and it will be tied to your inland revenue number. When you finish your study, you will become, the deal is, we will invest in you, you will work in New Zealand. So as you work in New Zealand, through your inland revenue number, we will be able to see you working here, and it's a year-for-year exchange. You've studied for 3 years, you owe us 3 years of work. Sorry,
Kind of just answer my question a little bit, but I was just curious about those of us who've already had quite significant student debt.
yeah. So, for those of you who are current debt, we will introduce a dollar-for-dollar student repayment scheme if you stay and work in New Zealand. So for every dollar you pay against your loan, we will pay off a dollar. If you have an essential skill that we want into the regions, and expand that, because if we're talking fibre splicers, if we're talking IT specialists, if we're talking doctors and all those support ones, then if you do 5 years in the regions, we will wipe it off. No payments at all. And the other thing we're going to do for current students, or one of the other things we are going to do is stop the arrest on exit. And we're actually going to stop people on the way into the country and have a conversation about setting up a repayment plan before they start their New Zealand short holidays, right? But that's what we can offer. We can't write off $15.2 billion, but at the moment we write off about 34 cents in every dollar. So we're going to top up that difference with a dollar-for-dollar student repayment. Okay?
After the 3 years is up and the loan starts again, how is it the same?
No, there's no loan.
Now?
There's no loan.
No, if you do more than 3 years?
No, that's later. If you study for 5 years, you owe us 5 years. If you study for 7 years, you owe us 7 years. However, if you're in an industry that requires overseas experience, your industry body, let's take the medical council or the teachers council, if you need to go overseas to get experience, they have a requirement and a responsibility to find a suitably qualified overseas person to come in and take your place. Their work will count against paying off your debt. If, however, you go overseas, fall in love and decide you're never coming back, then the inland revenue will turn your debt into a dollar debt, and it will be pursued under the same current repayment scheme right now. Sorry, big pardon.
Germany, they're a very cheap university. One of the systems they have in place around that is restricting your own place admission to university to prevent people from taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
Do you mention similar?
One of the other levers that's inside this policy is actually a much enhanced careers and transition advice service all the way through life. So what we know is we've got reports that show that careers advice inside our secondary schools is inadequate. We've got 43% of our students are studying something that they either drop out of before they gain a qualification but they've got debt, or they study something and do horizontal shifts because what they originally studied is not what they thought it was, or it's no longer applicable inside the workforce. So careers and transition advice would start at year 7, and it would be more than likely outside the compulsory school sector. You'd be working with the school sector, but they would be independent individuals trained in careers and transition advice. Labor has something similar. They've pledged 30 million. We've estimated it to cost 50 million. So what we believe is that we're going to be able to see people make better choices about, and we're going to widen the apprenticeship scheme. We're going to have internships inside of businesses and so on to give people a better opportunity to understand, do I really want to study that, or where will that take me if I study that, before they commit themselves to that particular pathway. Sir? All right, sorry. Last one.
When you say widening the apprenticeship scheme, do you mean subsidising it?
No. I'm talking about widening the apprenticeship scheme, which means, and first of all, it's already subsidised. Every apprenticeship actually receives some support from the state. There is a conversation about whether we should go back to supporting the employer to take on more apprentices, as opposed to basically the apprentices get around about $3,000 a year. There's a cost to them. What we're talking about is right now truck driving is not an apprenticeship, and yet we've got a massive skill shortage inside truck driving. There's caregivers, for example. We've got a huge shortage of those that are going to be able to care for our elderly as it goes forward. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about practical steps to actually support young people after they finish study or before they choose a field of study to set the direction for themselves. I have to stop now. So.
Thank you, Tracey.